Star Wars films ranked worst to best according to me, WarGamerCommander. So the first on the list is number 12, the Clone Wars movie 2008. So it's effectively the first episode of the Clone Wars TV series. It's not that good. I've probably only watched it once or twice, and that was probably back in 2008 when it came out. I don't have it on DVD. That's pretty much says it all, really. Number 11, The Rise of Skywalker. So this film suffers so much from bad writing, bad pacing, and the really stupid idea of bringing back Palpatine, which I think a lot of Star Wars fans really agree on. I think it's only the casual film goer that sort of doesn't understand why Star Wars fans don't like that idea of Palpatine coming back, because it basically undoes the Chosen One prophecy. So he did what he was supposed to do with the help of his son, who was very crucial in making that prophecy fulfilled. Luke can't be understated. So the fact that The Rise of Skywalker really sort of like just undoes the first 8 films effectively is really annoying, really, really bad. And I think the only other thing is that The Rise of Skywalker, I think, is the only film that I've seen in cinema and then haven't watched at home. I've got it on DVD, but I never watched it again. Number 10, The Last Jedi. This film caused a lot of division. It was trying to be too comedic, I think. And also a lot of the jokes, like for Poe joking around is going to be so dated in like 10 years, basically. I think we're going to look back and go, yeah, that does not age very well. That should not have been in Star Wars. It's not a Star Wars joke. You don't have any of those before or after. And also the whole flying Leia thing, it's very similar to the Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm on Mary Poppins, y'all, joke from Marvel and Star Wars. I just don't understand why you would have 2 of these same scenes, effectively. And then also the Rose and Finn story it's just so dead end. I just don't understand it. And then it's really ironic that they're sort of like saying that capitalism's really bad, and yet you look at the company Disney and they're very capitalist. I just don't understand the messaging there. It's very conflicting. Number 9, Attack of the Clones. This has got to be the worst love story in cinematic history. It does not make any sense whatsoever. Even as a kid, I remember fast forwarding through a lot of Anakin and Padme stuff on DVD. Like, me and my brother would watch the prequels quite a lot, but for episode 2 was one of the few films that we would actually sort of go, yeah, like, let's just skip to the good bits. As a kid, I think that's quite telling, that I would fast forward through a lot of those things. I would actually have preferred some of the deleted scenes to have been in there. Like, there's the whole Qaeda Mundi leads an attack on one of the separatist capital ships and then gets captured in the control room. Like, I would have far preferred that to have been in the film. Number 8 is The Force Awakens. I like it because it feels like a Star Wars film. It feels like a George Lucas film, but it is effectively a remake of A New Hope. I don't understand why people can rank it so highly on the list, and I have actually seen journalists ranking The Force Awakens higher than A New Hope, and you sort of go, hang on a minute, like, it is a copycat of A New Hope. How can you say that the remake is better than the original? Like, the original is always going to be better. I'm not a big fan of the fact that Kylo Ren got whooped in the first film. There was no sense of danger. There was no danger at all for the good guys. Rey, Finn and Poe have nothing on Luke, Leia and Han. The original trio that is significantly better than the new trio. So the Solo film, I really enjoyed the heists. I really liked the car chase at the beginning, so much so that I actually have the Lego sets for that chase. I liked how they captured the Solo character. I thought the actor did quite a good job. The dialogue I thought was really good. The cinematography was really good. The music was fantastic, especially for Emma's Nest. I really liked her theme. Maybe not so much her character. I thought it was a little bit too predictable that she was working for the Rebels. I just liked how Han, everything was just like off the cuff. Everything was just sort of, I think I can do this. I like that sort of gun-ho. It was too much of a tick box film, but I still really enjoyed it at the end of the day. Number 6, Rogue One. So this film I really enjoyed. It's a little bit like a tick box. It's based mainly on just a single line from the Star Wars opening crawl in New Hope. The original canon was that it was a Botham spy race, but now it's like they're Botham soldiers because they don't know who they are. Basically, there's no rebel records of who these soldiers were that got the Death Star plans in their new canon, Disney canon. I really liked the film. I liked the fact that it was so different. Like, everybody didn't survive basically, and I thought that was really interesting. I liked how they used the original footage and mixed it into the new footage. You had the original pilots from A New Hope flying in the Rogue One film. I really liked that little Easter egg. I liked, obviously, the Vader scene, but that was very fan service based. I liked the overall feel of the film. I thought it was nice and gritty. It was like a proper sort of like war film. Now, I think they were trying to go for a World War II theme, but I feel like it was a bit more like a Vietnam theme sort of war film. It's got that sort of edge to it, whereas a World War II film is a little bit more sort of like, well, we're the good guys sort of thing. Whereas Rogue One, I think, had more of a Vietnam War theme of there's too many sort of like factors going on, and who are really the good guys? Are the good guys actually really doing the good that they said they are? I thought that was really interesting. Number 5 is Phantom Menace. Now, this one is very nostalgic for me because this is the first Star Wars film that I saw in cinema. I grew up with the original trilogy, the special edition on video. I think about that, Jesus. Back in the mid-90s, I grew up with those. And then Phantom Menace, the first one I saw in cinema. And as a kid, I liked that film. I really liked that film. Even the Jar Jar Binks stuff, I liked that. As a kid, I liked it. And that was the whole point that George Lucas was going for, was that it's a kid's film. So he nailed that, in my opinion. Even the politics, I'm clearly a very odd kid. I didn't mind the politics. And as a kid, when I had it on DVD, me and my brother didn't skip those, which was really interesting. We skipped the love story between Anakin and Padme, but we didn't skip the politics in the Phantom Menace. We're very weird kids. Number 4, Return of the Jedi. This one's maybe quite controversial because it's number 4. I like the film. It's mainly the Ewoks. I don't really like the Ewoks. Now, as a kid, obviously, that is another target. The Ewoks were very sort of like kid orientated, but I just don't understand it. Did not like the Ewoks. Rest of the film is really good. I really like the film. I like the main battle, very similar to the Phantom Menace, which you've got all the different fights going on at the same time. It rhymes, it repeats, as George Lucas would say. It's a good film. The Luke and Vader fight, and then the Luke and Palpatine stuff is really good. Really, it just shows you the strength of the Jedi over the Sith, in my opinion, and I think that's really important. And I quite like the beginning bit, which is the rescuing of Han Solo, although the plan, if I was nitpicking, the plan is very odd. Number 3, Revenge of the Sith. This, to me, is a perfect prequel film. It's just, I think it's the dialogue that mainly lets it down. I think at the time, and even now, really, like, the opening scene has got to be the best opening scene. Like, to me, I think it's probably one of the best opening scenes to an action film. Just, I love the flying, the way the camera follows them through, and you just go straight into the action. It just shows you that it's the Clone Wars. Like, this is what they just did all the time, basically. Really like that opening. I think it should have spent more time on Anakin as a character, and then him constantly fighting, like, well, this is not what the Jedi Order does, that sort of thing. Should have been more focused on that, and then I think it would have been number 1 on my list, but there are a few little nitpicks, but it is best prequel film. Number 2, Empire Strikes Back. People go on about it's the best sequel ever made. I don't think it really is, in my opinion. I think there's better sequels out there. For me, I think the best sequel is Aliens. Like, Alien number 1 is a horror film, and then Aliens is an action horror. Like, you've never had one franchise that had 2 different genres. Like, you've never had that. Whereas A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back is basically sci-fi. Like, you just don't ever get that. To me, Aliens is the better sequel. It still works in the lore that the first film worked in. You can comment below on whether I'm right or wrong. So, Empire Strikes Back, it's a really good sequel, really good film. Not really that much I can say is bad about the film. I just, when I think about it, I'm picturing all the different scenes, like Bespin, Dagobah, Hoth, all of those just work really well. Like, it's really interesting how there's not really that much that happens in the film, but it feels like a big film. Like, there's a lot of depth to the film, and I think, to me as well, is that it really dives deep into the Jedi and Sith lore. Like, I really like the Dagobah stuff, because it builds upon the Jedi. It shows you what was missing from the prequels. Unfortunately, the prequels did not delve deeper into what makes a Jedi a Jedi. Then that enters the whole Metachlorian debate, which I don't really want to get into, but the prequels should have focused more on what The Empire Strikes Back effectively did. I love Boba Fett, really good character. I just love the duel between Luke and Vader, and then obviously the reveal is very iconic. And then even the sort of the Force connection at the end of the film, I believe, with Vader and Luke, where they're talking as Lando's got the ship and he's trying to escape, is just really iconic. Number 1 is A New Hope. Now, The New Hope, without A New Hope, there would not be Star Wars. It's got everything: cinematic scenes, cinematic shots, fantastic music, fantastic editing. Without all the people's hard work that was involved in making George Lucas's vision a reality, we would not have Star Wars, and everybody that was involved in that needs to have a massive thanks from everybody in cinema and the Star Wars fandom. Everybody just needs to thank them for what they all managed to put together. It's just fantastic. Even the acting is still holds up today. It has not dated. And I think that's the other thing, is that when you look back at some of these old films, you sort of go, oh my god, like, that's a bit dated. Like, the technology that they think that we would have in the future is nothing like what we have now. And it's just all of those sort of aspects. It's just amazing. And shooting on location is completely different to shooting in front of a green screen. Shooting on with using props, and the costume is fantastic, the story is fantastic. I really like stories which there's a beginning, middle and end. I don't like stories which have a sort of like, we'll tune in next week for, or to be continued. That's the main reason why I don't like the Marvel films, is that I need to have watched 5 other Marvel films to then understand all the references in this one that I've decided to pick up and watch. It's I prefer stories which are just a simple story told in one film. New Hope, understandable, number 1 film. So thank you, first off, for watching my video on the worst best Star Wars films. I hope you enjoyed the video that I created. I know that there's probably room for improvement, like audio and visuals maybe. Maybe just give me a suggestion. I definitely need to try and buy myself a mic. I'm just using my phone to do all these recordings, so I'm starting somewhere, but I need to get my game up, step up, basically. I've watched so many YouTubers and their lists of worst to best Star Wars films. I just thought it would just be interesting to add another one really out there on the internet. I don't think we really need that many more, but it's still an interesting debate. I just find it really interesting to see where everybody's mind is at with Star Wars. Most of the time the original trilogy comes out on top. I think that's just pretty standard. That's a pretty good response, I think. The prequels and the sequels are always interesting to see where people put those. I'm hoping that, we can have a civil conversation about all of this, do some interesting comments, have some interesting chats, and I hope that you enjoyed it enough to leave a like and maybe even subscribe. Don't have to, but it will be greatly appreciated. So until next time, may the Force be with you. Thank you. Just wanted to say, this is what happened to the first video. It was, for some bizarre reason, it flagged up as a violent criminal organisation. But I think it was to do with like promoting terrorism or violent action, crimes, that sort of thing. Nothing what the video was talking about at all, because it's just Star Wars movies ranked from worst to best, as you can clearly see from the title. No idea what all this was about. I'm assuming someone flagged my video as a joke, but it's quite a serious joke because it's an official warning, so if I get another one then I get a strike, so it's not a very nice thing to have done. Don't understand it, it's not really a good joke. All of these other sort of like COVID policy things doesn't apply, and then yeah, I don't know whether I should appeal. It's clearly a mistake because there's nothing in the video. I've double checked it, there's nothing in the video that should have been flagged, so I've got no idea. I think it just comes down to someone manually reporting me. So thank you very much.
Always with you, what cannot be done. It's like doing here. Bad idea. Yeah.